Let's get to the NFL power rankings of week number 2. Amir, we're going to do this every single week, just like we did last year. I'll give my top 10, your top 10. We'll see how much is different. We both agreed that Cincinnati fell out of our top 10s. And we know they start slow. Joe Burrow's
Yeah.
like 1-3 in openers in his career, but still, you lost to a team that most people didn't think we're going to win more than 5 games this year. The Patriots are on track to do so. You fall out of the top 10. Some other teams that are right outside. Of course, Pittsburgh has an argument, but we worry about the quarterback play. The Colts, despite a loss, Anthony Richardson was special. We'll talk about him later. The Dolphins, of course, they started off slow, but they picked it up second half and got a big win against Jacksonville. So again, they're right outside the top 10 for both of us. For me, top 10, we're going to go Buffalo. Despite Josh Allen's hand and all these stuff that they lost on paper, they still got the job done and they pulled together second half against Arizona. And that defense only allowed 31 passing yards in the second half. Man, that defense was special second half. The Rams at number 9, you lost, but you also lost Puka Nacua, so that moves you down a spot as well. But outside of that, I still believe in the Rams. The Jets, it didn't look pretty, but you had, first game back from Aaron Rodgers. Hassan Reddick was at home sleeping. I want to see some fine tuning going forward. Dallas, that defense was as advertised, if not better. And this offense, despite losing Jake Ferguson, dominated the number 1 defense and defensive player from last year. Baltimore moves down one spot despite their loss. I want to see them get Mark Andrews involved a little bit more, but still, it's still Baltimore. They're still going to be a great regular season team, and they're going to bounce back. They just happen to run into Kansas City. Number 5 is Philly. The offense looked great. Defense, still some questions in the secondary, but this week I think it's a big week to get a big win against a team like Atlanta. And number 4, Houston. They look scary, right? Stephon Diggs. We got a report, Amir, like 3 seconds into the game. It feels like Stephon Diggs is already complaining on the sideline, and then he goes down and scores one, and then he scores another. Nico Collins looked amazing. This team, it's one thing to have expectations, another thing to live up to them. Houston's doing exactly that so far. The top 3, we know what teams are in the top 3. Should be everybody's consensus, but what order? Well, all 3 teams did exactly what I thought they would do week 1. I'm going to stick with it. Kansas City 1, Detroit 2, and San Fran. Their depth is crazy, but they're at number 3. Amir, go ahead.
So for me, my number 10 spot, and listen, I'm a huge Josh Allen guy, but, I didn't want to jump the gun and put them at 10 because I'm still, me personally, I still think this team is fool's gold. Obviously, I'm high on Josh Allen. I think he's the second best quarterback in the league. But, I think this team still has a lot of holes and, in a depleted roster. Also lacking, some firepower offensively. But, based on how they looked week 1 in the second half, it's kind of hard for me to not put them in the top 10, especially since in recent history, Josh Allen is known for dominating, teams that are outside the top 10. And so I got Buffalo at 10 and the 9 spot, the Rams. Honestly, I wasn't going to move them down one. Just, for the simple fact that, they played Detroit, a consensus top 3 team in football. But, with the injuries, losing Puka and also multiple offensive linemen, I kind of have to. And so at my 8th spot, I had the Jets. And, I didn't want to move them either because, they lost to San Fran, which is
Right.
definitely, it's San Fran, but they got dominated. I'm going to be honest. And, A-Rod, honestly, he showed flashes of him still being him. I think he will eventually, get back to that. But, seeing him get dominated, by this San Fran offense and pretty much, dominating, their mantra as a team, which is defense, I had to move him down one. And, at my 7th spot is Dallas. I hated I had to do this, but, I love Cleveland. I love our defense. Last year, the best defense in football, they made us look like we were back in poverty. They should have dominated us on both sides of the ball, made Deshaun look lost out there. The 6th spot, I have Baltimore in the same spot. Baltimore lost to Kansas City, by a hair, So I pretty much left them the same. At
Eerily
5, I have
similar
Philly.
so far, right? Eerily similar. Same 6 through 10. Hopefully it doesn't stay the same. Go ahead. Number 5 is Philly.
Yeah, Philly at 5. I think Philly, the defense definitely is still a question, but they're young. They'll figure it out. But offensively, it's scary. Houston, absolutely scary. This offense is elite. The defense looked really, really good, against a great offensive team. And, most importantly, that run game dominated. If Joe Mixon, does this the entire season, it's no stopping Houston. At the 3 spot, this is where we probably differ here.
Yes.
You know,
First difference.
Detroit, I didn't want to move them down, but I think the team that's above them just played that good. And also Detroit, I mean, that second half, they really struggled, offensively against a team that's kind of, depleted with injuries early on. And, seeing the Rams almost take that win, it was kind of hard for me to really keep Detroit over San Fran because San Fran looked that good. And so San Fran's at 2, KC at 1. I think, these are the obvious top 3. 2 and 3 is definitely debatable. But seeing San Fran, but no McCaffrey, to sort of dominate a great defense like that on the ground and in the air, I have to put them at 2.
Yeah, to see how much they dominated last week and the fact that they're getting one of the best players in football, period, back into their offense, scary to think about the potential and the ceiling of the San Francisco 49ers.